Welcome to Dirty Fanatics United.
Falcon fans, Falcon Nation, welcome back to another episode of Dirty Fanatics United. I am your host today, C Money, as always, followed by my co-host, Robert, a.k.a. Megabiff, David Ellison, my guy from Recognized Game, here to talk some Falcons football with you today. Falcon fans, the Atlanta Falcons break the news yesterday afternoon that Kevin Stefanski was the hire. He is the head coach to take this regime to the next level, as Matt Ryan and the higher-ups as Greg Beatles and Arthur Smith seems to believe so. Robert, coming to you with it, man, and we'll rotate around the panel as we always do. We'll be sure to get to the comment section in just a second. Robert, your thoughts on the hire of Kevin Stefanski in Atlanta. Chat, get active. 1, for a good hire. 2, for that was the wrong pick. Get active in the comment section. Robert.
I think it's a good hire. I think that he brings some experience and hopefully brings some stability to the team. I mean, outside of Raheem, we haven't had an experienced head coach hired since Dan Reeves, and that was before Arthur Blank ever owned the team. He's an offensive mind. He's caught a lot of criticism for, not being able to handle or mentor or develop quarterbacks, but, everybody fails in Cleveland. I mean, it's a garbage organization with a garbage front office. And I think that, a change of scenery, a fresh start, a fresh front office, I think it'll do him a world of good here in Atlanta.
Absolutely. Dave, what's going on, man? Didn't get the chance to go live with you last night. We decided to go live at midnight last night to break the news with Kevin Stefanski as a new hire in Atlanta. David, your thoughts, man? Obviously, leading up to it, man, we just had an interview with Mike Johnson the previous day ahead, and Mike Johnson kind of expressed some of his concerns about the fact of a hire of Kevin Stefanski. David, just your overall thoughts of the hire and what it means for the personnel in Atlanta as far as the roster, what they like to call the roster obstacle here, as the Atlanta Falcons decide what their identity is going to be heading into this first year with Kevin Stefanski. David, your thoughts?
Of course, the initial reaction was, oh, my God, what are we doing? But like I said, that was initial shock because didn't get the pick of the coach that I had wanted. Of course, we had already said Kubiak was, pretty much a choice. But now the initial shock is over with. And, of course, I do what I do and went in and dug in a little deeper into who Stefanski is. Not going to hold him accountable to what went on in Cleveland these last few years, couple of years, dealing with, 2 years ago. It should have been Deshaun Watson as starting quarterback. He had to go with Jacoby Brissett for the whole year. This past year, still had some dysfunction with Flacco, Gabriel, and Shadur Sanders and everything. And I think the biggest thing that the fan base is upset with the man about is how he handled the whole situation with Shadur Sanders. Deion Sanders is royalty in Atlanta, and Shadur is his son. And I think that we're not the anger in the fan base is not because of his coaching. Of course, the record is the record, but I think a lot to do with the Shadur Sanders dynamic. What's going on, but me personally, you asked a question about what he brings with the roster. Dig into what he did the prior years before this 2-year 8-game wins the last 2 years. But he had Nick Chubb. His offense produced the league in rusher in Nick Chubb in don't quote me, I think 2022 or 2023, one of those years. He did have Amari Cooper that he did his offense produced him as a 1,000-yard receiver. and Njoku, tight end, 81 catch season, in his tenure with that. So, those are our three main playmakers: Drake, Bijan, Pitts, if we get him back. And, the offense has shown production in those three positions of our offense. So, maybe we got some good things to look forward to with his system and, going forward. So, that's what I got, digging into who Stefanski's offense can, be in Atlanta.
Yep, absolutely. Some big names, obviously a veteran coach, two-time Coach of the Year award. So a big name to talk about, and we're going to get to the chat real quick, see what the chat has to say about the new hire in Atlanta, new head coach, Kevin Stefanski. South Ricky 4 said, what's going on, everyone? Falcons Nation over everybody. Rise up, brother. Glad to have you in the comment section this evening. Hit that like button, share to a Falcon fan. And Falcon fans, don't forget to hashtag DFU for the free raffle giveaway here. We're giving away a Falcon throwback hoodie. We're giving away a Julio Jones bobblehead, and we're also going to give away a Falcon flag, courtesy of DFU. All you have to be is subscribed and hashtag DFU in a live video to be entered for that raffle. My guy Ricky said, LFG, what's good, fellas? Ricky, what's going on, brother? Glad to have you here today as the Atlanta Falcons make the initial hire of Kevin Stefanski as the new head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Charles gives us a 1 for it was a good hire of Kevin Stefanski. Sterling Woods says, man, what's going on, y'all? We have a veteran play caller now, and the defense will stay intact. Ricky Smith with the 1 for a good hire in Atlanta. Southside says, I'd say it's a decent, stable hire as you get a veteran offensive play caller here in Atlanta. And Auntie Pam in the chat with us. She says, hello, Jace, Robert, David, and everyone in the chat. Happy Sunday. One good hire. Hashtag DFU. And Auntie Pam, glad to see you in the chat. It's been a minute. Appreciate you coming through with the comment. Hit that like button. Glad to have you here. Meet Washington says, welcome to Atlanta, Steve Stefanski. Sterling Woods with the 1 for it was a good hire. Meet Washington says, Kevin, my bad. Southside says, we're going to run the hell out of the ball. Meet Washington says, Kevin is about to take that offense to another level. Sterling Woods in the chat is going crazy, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat this afternoon as we break down the news as it broke yesterday. The Atlanta Falcons with a new hire. Guys, we're going to get to the rest of your comments here in a second. We have a couple of topics to chat about, guys. Give your answers in the chat as we go, and I'll be sure to run through your comment, maybe 15, 20 minutes down the road, but I will get to every comment in the comment section. Appreciate all the love here from DFU. Robert, the question goes to you, man. The Atlanta Falcons did make the hire of Kevin Stefanski. The news broke today. Ian Rappaport reports that Jeff Ulbrich will more than likely be the DC here in Atlanta. I haven't done my research into it yet, but some say the source has confirmed that he is the DC in Atlanta. Robert, your thoughts of being able to retain Jeff Ulbrich with a veteran head coach, play caller like Kevin Stefanski in Atlanta?
It's the right move. Brick came in last year, and and like this head coaching hire, there was a lot of skepticism, but he brought in a pass rush, and the defense is really what's been hurting this team for so many years now. And I think it proves that Stefanski, along with Matt Ryan, Greg Beatles, and whoever else is going to be brought in to round out the staff, is committed to sticking with what's working, to build stability, and to keep this defense intact. And now all we need is, some offensive weapons and, some decent play calling. And, the sky's the limit. I mean, we're in a weak division, guys. I mean, I'm just going to state the obvious. So, I mean, the division's pretty much wide open. And, I honestly think that, we're going to see a playoff appearance this coming year.
Love to hear it. David, obviously high expectations from Mr. Robert for this veteran head coach. Obviously, looming questions as far as who is going to be the quarterback. Will Michael Penix be ready to go in OTAs? David, the question goes to you. How important is it to be able to retain your record-breaking coach in sacks for franchise history, Jeff Ulbrich, the guy at the helm of that defense? David, how important is it to be able to keep that perspective in the building to possibly run that style again next year, that these players believed, as James Pierce Jr. stated, we were just getting to where we could only rush 4 people. So, David, your thoughts on the return of Jeff Ulbrich?
Well, definitely expected this, to be announced. When they blocked the interview, I think was with the Cowboys. I pretty much knew then that, they weren't going to let him out of the house, and I think that's the right move. The defense finally got some, footing, and just to keep, building up on that, I think it was a very smart move not to disrupt what they had going on the defense side of the ball. So definitely, do applaud them for, sticking with Coach and, suggesting to the new regime that he stays in town. So, that was definitely a good move to keep that defense together.
So we have our first official question on the podcast, and we always make sure to get to the comments with the questions because it brings topics and makes the podcast continue to run here. Sterling Woods with a great topic says, will Kirk stay as our quarterback now that he is here? Falcon fans spoke about last night on Twitter that there was a lot of familiarity when it came to Kirk Cousins and Stefanski, as he did coach Kirk Cousins quite a good amount of years throughout his career. Got your guys' thoughts. Robert, we'll start with you. The amount of money that it would cost the Atlanta Falcons to retain a Kirk Cousins is record-breaking stupidity if the Atlanta Falcons were to pay that amount of money to continue a, 38-year-old quarterback now? I don't know that number, but I know it's around that ballpark. Robert, your thoughts of the quarterback situation, if it's not Kirk Cousins, if Penix isn't healthy and ready to go, who are you looking for in this Kevin Stefanski scheme? On the back burner, remember, Joe Flacco did take him to a playoff game. Robert, your thoughts?
Yeah, Kirk's not going to be here. I mean, just for that reason, the money. I mean, if you're going to tie up that much money into a guy that's going to be 38 this year, he's struggled with injuries since he's been with us. It's, if you're going to tie up that much cap space in one player, I mean, that just kind of defeats the purpose of cleaning house. I mean, we've got to get some other supporting cast in here. We need wide receivers. We need an opposite corner for AJ. And we need a big guy in the middle to stop the run on defense. So, no, I honestly don't think Kirk's going to be here. With the ties that Stefanski has to Joe Flacco, I was surprised to see him in here. Yes, he's an older quarterback as well, but I honestly think a guy like Flacco would give us our best option in case Penix isn't ready.
Absolutely, David.
Yeah, I think if you pay Kirk, you're starting to get into that time when it's time for Drake, Bijan, and Pitts is already due for his extension, or we have to franchise him and let him go. You're getting up into the meat of our the players that we got to prioritize. And if you're paying Kirk $57 million next year, I don't see where we're gonna have money to sign some of these people that we know we really need to keep on the team.
Yeah, absolutely. You make a great point there. As we talked about Njoku having such success under Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland. Guys, your thoughts of when you look at a Kyle Pitts on paper, when you see what he done his rookie season with a Matty Ice in the building at quarterback, when you look at what he did his contract year, the amount of quarterback changes he had here in Atlanta. Robert, do you see a Kevin Stefanski when he looks at a Kyle Pitts and says, dude, whatever it takes, I'm going to retain this guy because I can unlock Kyle Pitts in Atlanta? Robert, your thoughts?
That's a good question. If he's going to look at the positives and, see what Kyle did the last few games this year, yeah, I think so. Now, will he get signed long-term this year? I don't see it. I see if we do keep Kyle, it'll probably be, via the franchise tag. But, yeah, I think that if Kyle does stay, I think that Stefanski can, work with him. I think that you would see him, better utilized in the red zone, possibly more touchdown receptions. That's really what's been lacking the last couple of years is creativity when it comes to offensive play calling. There's been rumors of certain OCs coming in with Stefanski that a lot of the fans aren't liking, but it's just going to have to be a wait and see thing.
Robert, a name broke out last night and on into today, as Ricky stated here. He says, I'm hearing Bill Callahan will be placing Ledford. How is everybody feeling about that? Bill is official. Let's not forget. Big name like Bill Callahan in the building. That would be a great addition to this coaching staff. As Auntie Pam mentioned earlier about the quarterback situation in Atlanta, who could be the quarterback coach coming in here. She says, I'm happy about Bill Musgrove, quarterback coach, veteran coach for our franchise quarterback, as in Michael Penix with the rehab, coming back, learning a new scheme, his second different scheme coming into the NFL now with a new head coach, his first ever new head coach in Atlanta, Kevin Stefanski, and this quarterback coach here, Bill Musgrove, a guy that has been around the ringer. So you have a lot of additions when you grab that veteran two times coach. A lot of people know this guy. A lot of people have respect for Kevin Stefanski, and as you see, his coaching staff is not lied on big names, as the OC has still yet to really been announced who the Atlanta Falcons could hire. David, your thoughts of Kevin Stefanski and the production of Njoku when he looks at Kyle Pitts? Is there any kind of something that grabs him and says, hey, I can do something with Kyle Pitts in Atlanta?
Like I said, we want to give him a loaded gun, and if he misfires, it's going to be on him. But we gotta. I don't want to see the cupboard stripped down, and we try to save too much money in these skills positions. We know what we have on hand, and then I don't want to replace these people that we already know can produce.
Yep.
Kyle hasn't produced, and I make statements that I believe those middle years where we didn't get much production out of him was due to injury and bad quarterback play. And we got to, if we put those things in position and a little bit of scheme, I think that Pitt's going to be who we thought Pitts was. The rookie that had the 1,000 yards, and Matt Ryan had looking like who we drafted. So no, I think that we're going to get a lot of good years out of Kyle Pitts, and I do think that in the extension is the route to go with him, and so we won't be having the same conversation next year, year after that, when we going to have these conversations about Drake and Bijan. So we got to get them out the way, get that piece settled, so we won't be trying to juggle two extensions at one time. So.
We have a big question here. Before I get to that question, I want to give a shout out to the 52 live viewers right now. Wherever you're tuning in, hit that like button, leave a comment, be sure to subscribe, follow, ring the bell, as we'll bring you content throughout the whole offseason. Appreciate all the new subscribers. If you're tuning back in, appreciate the support here at DFU. Charles says, do y'all think he will adapt the Chris Lindstrom or trade him for draft capital and change up the O-line? As Kevin Stefanski, rumors that go around the league, says that the Atlanta Falcons will have to adapt to the style of offensive line offense that he wants to run here in Atlanta. Mike Johnson spoke about this familiar situation here with Chris Lindstrom. Robert, your thoughts on the O-line beef up? Where does it start? And does Chris Lindstrom get traded for draft capital, or can he adapt to this Kevin Stefanski O-line?
Well, in my opinion, Chris Lindstrom's the best guard in football. So, I think that he can adapt, and look no farther than, when we inserted Penix at quarterback, that shifted the strong side over to the right. And Caleb McGarry, before the injury, showed major improvement in pass protection.
Yep.
So, Chris Lindstrom's a proven guard. I think that, he's already proven his worth in the run game, with Bijan and Tyler, in the backfield. And, I think that he's good enough that he can adapt to any situation, adapt to any offense.
Robert or David, the question bounces right over to you, brother. Your thoughts on the situation. Is Chris Lindstrom adaptable, or do you trade him for draft capital? As Kevin Stefanski is familiar with having seasons without first-round picks, as he didn't have a first round, I believe, the last 3 or 4 years in Cleveland. David, your thoughts on the situation?
Okay, now, after we talked to Mike, I know that he's, versed in a lot of things, but, I really went and did a side-by-side comparison with every offensive lineman that we had against the Cleveland Browns offensive line. There's really only one offensive lineman that really, the DeJuan Jones, that really was a big guard. He was like 350 plus, and I mean a big tackle at 350 plus, and he was the only really one that really outsized our offensive line. And from what I researched about the scheme for Stefanski, he runs a wide zone rushing attack, which is not too far away from what we already do. And it was only that one big tackle on the right tackle that outsized our offensive line. So I don't see it being too big of an issue with him coming in and adapting to what our offensive line is. If he have to go out and get a big swing tackle or whatnot, so be it. But it wasn't that big of a difference to me with the size of the offensive lines.
Absolutely. Falcon fans, if you're just checking in now, hit that like button. Check us out at Dirty Fanatics United on YouTube. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Hashtag DFU to be entered in the live raffle. We have about 15 contestants right now entered in that raffle, as we will be giving away 3 items here on Dirty Fanatics United just for the support of you guys subscribing. This past month has been crazy for the channel. We've been growing tremendously. Thank you to all the viewers and supporters. Going back to the comment section, we have a lot of comments. Going to try to get to all these comments here. Let's see where we left off at. Right here. Southside says, we got to bring Algier and Pitts back now. And hopefully Jeff Ulbrich finds a way to keep Caden and Diablo together. Robert, speak on how important it is to make sure this Atlanta Falcons defense, this young Atlanta Falcons defense, finds a way to re-sign Caden Ellis, to keep Diablo and Caden side by side when it comes to the production those two brought to the field this year on defense. I mean, really helped when it came to the blitz package. If you didn't have pressure on the edge from James Pierce, you had Diablo damn near every play up the center, with Caden Ellis playing more of a zone read, can QB spy here and there. But Caden Ellis, you didn't see the blitz package a lot with Caden Ellis this year because that was more designed and based off of Diablo. But just, Robert, your thoughts of bringing back an Algier, a Caden Ellis, I mean, these type of players, and maybe even a Pitts again here in Atlanta for another couple of years.
Well, as far as Tyler Algier goes, I mean, I think the market value for him was like 2.5, 2.6 million. And that would be a no-brainer to bring him back. And, of course, with Caden Ellis, same thing. I mean, he is the heart and soul. He is the leader of this defense. He can do just about anything that's asked of him. And the addition of Divine Diablo, who, when we signed him last year, everybody was like, well, who is this guy? What did he do with the Raiders? And that goes back to my point earlier about the coaching hires. I mean, a change of scenery can be huge, not just for coaches, but for players. Yep. Just it depends on who they're with and who they're surrounded by, and Caden Ellis is a natural born leader on the defensive side of the ball, and it's very important to keep him around, and I think it's very important to keep Divine around as well.
David,
I definitely think that those are two of the primary free agents that we need to re-sign. Definitely can't let Ellis get out of town, and if the money's right and we can sign Tyler to a decent convince him that he'll have a role in this offense, I think that the money won't be a problem with signing Tyler. I think the problem would be whether or not we can convince him that he's going to have a role that that he's likely. Players want to play at the end of the day. If the money is similar somewhere else, I think that if he's going to be a more prevalent role in the offense, I think that that would be the only reason that we can lose him. But the money won't be why we lose Tyler Algier if the market value for him is what came out.
Yeah. Another comment here from LT Pan. She says Tyler will be here. Stefanski loves duo backfield, deuce running. Back coach is a plus. Tyler Algier hoping to make another extension in Atlanta to continue his tenure with Bijan Robinson in that backfield. The two-headed monster that an OC in Atlanta has yet to figure out how to use both of. Hopefully Stefanski, the offensive-minded head coach, can come in here, re-sign Tyler Algier to a team-friendly deal of 2.5 or whatever that number may be, and have a two-headed monster here in Atlanta. Hopefully finds a way to unlock that in this Atlanta Falcons offense. My guy, I slaughter names here, man. Sel Mofo 4572 says Kirk Cousins will be the QB1 in Atlanta next year. Robert, David.
Nope.
DFU just doesn't see it, brother. I'm not saying it's impossible if they cut him and then find a way to work the numbers for a re-sign, but not with the amount of money the Atlanta Falcons have to re-sign him at. I don't see it happening. Mark Smith says they will have to cut and re-sign him. As we just stated here, they would have to cut and re-sign Kurt. They even have the possibility to have him back on the roster. Miss Pam said Leffler's still on the team. Ricky Smith said, what's going on, Auntie Pam in the chat? My guy Abno says, so I've heard Kevin might be bringing his OC from the Browns. If that somehow happens, how do we feel about Tommy Rees? We've also heard the name Bill Callahan. Robert, David, your thoughts on Tommy Rees, the former Alabama coach? I've heard a lot about Tommy Rees. Even Mike Johnson said that it was not a sexy hire for him to have him as the OC in Atlanta. Robert, your thoughts?
Well, he got a lot of criticism for his time in Alabama, and of course, but again, Alabama fans are used to flawlessness and perfection almost, and just it's again, it goes back to the talent that he's going to be working with here. Will he be able to unlock? If we do keep Tyler Algier, will he be able to build a scheme around a two-headed monster? And of course, Kevin Stefanski loves play action. The offensive scheme that, he would bring in, if it adapts to the talent we have in place, I think that he could succeed here. But, then again, to the point of the negativity, from what I've seen, especially, with the lack of reaching the standard, that Alabama has, some of that criticism may be a little bit warranted. But then again, this is a pro team. This is not a college team. We can, it's different schemes. The pace of the game is a lot different. It might be something that he can adapt to. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yep, absolutely.
Personally, I don't know a lot about him. All I know is that if Stefanski, my biggest thing about Stefanski, if he's coming in, he's pretty much the de facto offense coordinator. Anybody else is pretty much, how good is the OC in working with a quarterback? That's what I want to know, because I do want somebody to have, when Penix do take the helm back, somebody to have that outlet to go direct to, and they have a real good relationship between those two. Because if Tommy Rees comes in, he's just OC by name, because the OC is going to be Stefanski. So I really don't, that name, the OC name really don't, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter to me as much, but it's not as high profile as if that person was coming in being the play caller.
Yep. Georgia Texas boy in the chat with it said, "What's up, DFU and Falcon family? The new era is here. Good hire. Let's go, Stefanski." Falcon fans, hit that like button. Bring the comment. Shout out to all 75 live viewers wherever you're tuning in this afternoon. Appreciate you being here with DFU. Hit that subscribe button, guys. Check us out on YouTube at Dirty Fanatics United. Hashtag the DFU to be entered in the free raffle. Guys, I have a question for you, and not only you, but the chat as well. The Atlanta Falcons made the head coaching hire before they announced the GM hire. A lot of Falcons say that's because it's either Ian Cunningham or Josh Williams with the 49ers that was just eliminated last night out of the playoffs. Guys, your thoughts on that in chat. Let me know what you think. Was it the right move to hire the head coach before the GM? Robert?
Honestly, I don't think it really matters, because, we hired Arthur Smith before we hired Terry Fontenot. And, it's not like there was really, any success with Arthur Smith. But at the same time, you got to keep in mind, they were brought in, they inherited a mess from the last couple of years under Dimitroff and Quinn. And unfortunately, it didn't work out. But I don't think that hiring the head coach before the GM is going to cause any unrest in the structure.
Oh, definitely. Pretty much I think they already know who they want. And, if it hadn't been put in place already, you can pretty much point all fingers towards one of the people that are already, that they can't hire yet, not the fact that they don't know who they want to hire. They can't until the team is eliminated, they can't, make the announcement. So, of course, it points to Ian Cunningham, in my opinion. So, I think that's always been the one that they were penciling in that spot. So it'll be announced after Chicago gets eliminated.
Southside Regan says, doesn't Stefanski run an outside zone? Yeah, very familiar to what Bijan and Algier kind of ran already here in this regime in Atlanta. So I don't think the familiarity would be kind of similar for what they would have to learn in this new scheme. Selmo said, yeah, the Wildcat. My guy Robert says, I can't see how this is better than what we had before. Shaking my damn head. Some Falcon fans love it. Others don't. We appreciate and respect all opinions here on the channel. Robert, could you please elaborate, brother? What makes you to where you just, absolutely do not like this hire? I would love to know more about that situation. Jay Black in the chat, what it says, we are not changing our O-line. We will obtain a center and then maybe add in the draft for O-line. I could see drafting something on the guard side, the tackle side, the veteran Jake Matthews. How many more years does he have in the league? I could see a draft selection. I don't know what round that is because I truly believe whoever is announced OC and Kevin Stefanski, whatever scheme they run, they have got to have a true receiver too in Atlanta. Does Stefanski like Darnell Mooney? I don't know, but if you go off of last year's tape, I don't think you are rocking with a Darnell Mooney heading into your first year, unsure and uncertain if he's going to perform at what he's capable of doing.
That's definitely where Atlanta will look to save money at with the Darnell Mooney contract. Is it?
Yeah.
What is it? Is it? What's his contract number for next year? Was it? Is double-digit $1 million?
I'm terrible with the numbers. Yeah, I'm terrible with the numbers.
Yeah, I'll give you that in a minute. But I want to say 18 if I'm not mistaken, but we're not paying him that. That's where we'll save money at. So yeah. I can say Mooney will be gone.
Yep, absolutely. Chris Lindstrom will adapt. McGarry is missing pieces on that side. Georgia Texas boy said, I've heard Brian Callahan might be the new the OC. He was a very good OC in Cincy prior to becoming head coach of Tennessee. That's another vet coach to have on board. Do you guys agree? Brian Callahan, another veteran NFL leadership coach here in Atlanta, to be on that staff of Kevin Stefanski. Guys, your thoughts of Brian Callahan?
Well,
Go ahead, Dave. Go ahead, Dave.
I've been saying one of the things that I read that the Falcons asked Stefanski is who would be his staff, and he had to present to them who he thought that he could bring on as a staff, and that had to be something that kind of impressed them if they went ahead and made that decision. So I would think that there's going to be some pretty good coaches. I don't care about the names. I just want somebody who's going to come in here and know the job and be able to do it. So if it's Bill Callahan, if it's whoever, can you coach? I'm not caught up in the names or anything, but it had to be someone, and they know the football people know who are the coaches in the league, or whether they just holding a position. So it had to be somebody who's going to impress them, that come in here and help move the organization forward. So Stefanski wasn't going to be able to come in here and do it by himself. So the staff had to be in place. So that's what I thought about that.
Yeah. And, as far as, Brian Callahan's concerned, I think Stefanski can relate to him because of the disaster he had with the Titans as head coach. He obviously knows what it's like to play for a dysfunction, or to coach for a dysfunctional franchise. And, that might be, an attraction for Stefanski to want to bring him in and give him a chance. I saw a report earlier, I don't know if it's said or not, but Brian's dad, Bill, is likely going to be the new offensive line coach. Just familial ties and stuff like that. And that could help. With the stability of the coaching staff.
Yep, all on the same page. The mindset is all the right vision. Everybody's on the line of what that identity is that the Atlanta Falcons are going to be next season here in Atlanta. John Moreno in the chat says, "I'm not upset. I'm mad as hell. Did you see the Seahawks put that A whooping on the 49ers? Kubiak. Chat, anything you guys want to address John Moreno here in the chat? Appreciate the comment.
I understand the frustration. I really do, because, Kubiak was my first choice ahead of Stefanski. I'll be honest about it. But that's one thing that has really been talked about, amongst not just the fan base, but the media, is why do we not ever bring in an experienced coach? And I think that's what it boiled down to. I hope that Clint Kubiak, I hope he does find a good job, and I hope he's successful, as long as he doesn't go to one of our division rivals, of course.
Yeah.
But, and again, I don't know if, the speed of the hire of Stefanski had to do with, the length of how long it might have took to actually get Clint Kubiak in the building, because from what I saw last night, the Seahawks might be.
Seahawks is taking it to the bowl.
Yeah. They'll probably be lifting that trophy up in early February.
Yeah. The Seahawks, the way they just are whooping teams right now in the playoffs, just gives me that 2016 vibe, dude. Like, just watching them, like, when I watched them last night beat the 49ers, a great defense that Shanahan and offense that he has over there in San Francisco. When I watched that whooping, I was like, yeah, this team's legit. It's going to come down to whoever they face is going to have to be a absolute slobber fest. Because that defense is maybe, I'm willing to say, maybe better than the Legion of Boom, the way these guys are playing right now. That defense is going crazy.
They were hitting hard, and as far as the offense goes, I mean, Robert Saleh's no slouch as a defensive coordinator, and for them to put up 41 on that defense.
Yep, yeah, that was a great game for them. Robert, David, your thoughts of the fact, missing out on Kubiak, grabbing the veteran coach and Kevin Stefanski, as our reporter or comments here says, they wanted Kubiak. They're mad as hell that the Atlanta Falcons went Kevin Stefanski.
Well, like I'm saying, it goes the hot coordinator or the experienced coach. We went back and forth about who we wanted as a coach. The name that when we said experienced coach, of course, everybody was saying Harbaugh. But the next 1B or number 2 on the list would have been Stefanski. So I don't know. I don't like it, but I'm not mad at it either. So I'm going to sit back and he's our coach now. So I'm about the bird. So I want to have to get behind him and support him until he showed me that he's not able to do the job. So. Welcome to Atlanta, coach. And, last night I was as mad as every fan in Atlanta that didn't like the pick. But when I woke up this morning, I put it behind me, and now let's see what the guy do good and give him the benefit of the doubt, because it's not going to change. He's our coach. So,
right.
It's time to stand behind him and, fly the flag. So rise up. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Kevin Stefanski, new head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. The title of today's show is, what was this hire? Was this hire the right hire, and what does it mean for the future of the Atlanta Falcons? Shout out to all 86 viewers, man. Leave a comment, hit that subscribe button, man. Glad to have everybody here in the chat as the Atlanta Falcons have a new head coach and a new era here in Atlanta. Georgia Texas boy says Stefanski turned Cleveland around till the owner and GM decided to give up 5 draft picks and $253 million for Deshaun Watson. There was reports that his party said they had no doing of the trade and selection of Deshaun Watson for Kevin Stefanski. Heather Deluxe says all the momentum from the Ryan hire is lost now. I'm so upset. I'm furious. Is Blank putting too much stock into these consultants he's hired? David, Robert?
Well, that's what he hired them to do. So he has to put the stock in them. So, he paid them to do a job. You know, he had confidence in them for doing the job, and he let them do the job. So, you know, we don't like it. You know, there are people, smarter than we are. We're just the fans, and we got a small amount of information about the stuff, but we're gonna. It's here now. Either you're gonna support it or you're not. And I don't have another team 30 minutes down the road that I can go support. So I'm here. I'm here for it. He's our coach. There's nothing we can do about it. We can bicker and complain, but the fan base bickers and complains about everything. We win 3 games. They're going to wonder why we didn't win the 3 games by more than a touchdown. So this is Atlanta. It's Atlanta sports for you, man. We're gonna roll. We're gonna rock with it or not. So
I agree. It's and I understand the frustration. I mean, the media, got us all pumped up. It's going to be Clint Kubiak or it's going to be John Harbaugh. And, I think that a lot of what stands out as far as Stefanski goes is his record the last 2 years. But, just keep in mind, it was Cleveland. Just poorly run organization. I think the coach's hands were tied. Not just, with the quarterback situation, but, any roster moves, he really had no say in it. What say he'll have here in Atlanta, I don't know. But, I don't think that he's going to be dealing with the dysfunction that he had in Cleveland, and, just go out there and win some games and, win over the naysayers. That's really the only thing.
Absolutely. Prove it to the unproven that you can be the coaches you need here in Atlanta. Guys, the chat section is going. Go ahead, David.
Yeah. Chat caught my attention.
Chat's going crazy over here.
I go back and forth this guy. So this is, I am not supporting losing. The guy has not lost in Atlanta. Okay. That organization that he came from is not the Falcons. The players aren't the players. I don't know what it's going to be next year, but until I can see it with my eyes, I'm not going to cause it losing until I see it with my own eyes. There's nothing we can do about the decision that's made. It hurts me more than anybody to every weekend that the team loses. You can sit down and ask my wife how much it hurts me when we lose a big game. There's times that I can sit down and, it takes me hours to decompress from a game. So I hate losing more than anybody. I'm probably one of the most competitive people that you would ever meet. But until I can see it with my own eyes, I'm not going to call it a losing decision. But, am I hopeful that it's going to be right? Yes. Am I sure it's going to be right? No. But until I can see it,
Headed to the chat real quick, man. We got so many comments here. Southern one says, we need to keep Caden and Diablo, but we need good depth pieces as well. Georgia Texas boy says, I'm glad we went the experienced route. Georgia Tech says, hey, how you doing, Miss Pam? What's your thoughts on the new hire? My guy Mark says, Matt Ryan's first hire was extremely underwhelming. Not happy with Stefanski. A lot of Falcon fans aren't. Some love the pick. We'll just have to see what he brings to Atlanta as we get ready for this new era of Falcon football. Heading here very soon as free agency and all start right around the corner. John Moreno says Arthur Brain plus Matt Brain equals 0. Gosh. Pamela says they will address the trenches on both defense and offense. Southside Ricky says, how would y'all feel about us signing Alec Pierce in free agency, then drafting a Chris Brazel from Tennessee, a 6'5" guy with the 4.3 speed to provide much needed speed in our receiver room? Robert?
Hey, if we can get him in here and then, make that kind of a draft pick, I'd be tickled to death with it. I don't know what Alec's market value would be, but yeah, I could see that happening. That would be a major upgrade. Oh, and I did look up Darnell Mooney's cap hit for the upcoming year is $18.5 million. So you can pretty much
big old cap. David?
Yeah, just Alec Pierce. Yeah, if that's the case, it's not something that just blows me away. But I wouldn't. We do need upgrades at the receiver position. So
Yeah.
who I don't have a name that is just the free agent market is kind of scarce, but I'm quite sure they'll figure out something. We definitely have to get 1-2 receivers in there. So if those names are I'm not familiar with the Brazil guy, so I'm not gonna yes, that's the pick. I would say Branch because I'm more familiar with Branch from Georgia. So it's who you like. If we can get him third in the third round, I'll be more than happy for that because that pick would be somebody I know. He may know the kid that he called better than I do, so it may be a good pick. So I'm not gonna say, but we can get someone a small, quick receiver like Branch in the
What about a name of? I've been seeing reports online. He wants to come back to Georgia. That
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill. What about that? If Tyreek Hill was a possibility to land in Atlanta, I'm for it. I'm not against it. That's the speedy receiver.
I wouldn't be against it either. I mean,
championship caliber receiver. Great slot guy. I mean, that's your
come on home.
Yeah, come on back to Georgia.
Come on home.
Sterling Woods with a great comment here. Says, what quarterback would you sign for Kevin's offense? Whoever wants to start it.
David, go ahead.
There's nobody out there. It's nobody really out there. So it's not, I don't know. It's just all the bridge quarterbacks. We talked about that on the show the other night. Who's out there? We got names like I don't know. I'll make a joke about Marcus Mariota about being the best one on the list. When I made that joke the other night, it's really Russell Wilson. Who's out there?
The report broke today. No, this is going to cost you some dollars more than likely to land this guy. And I'm not for this pick, but the reports came out today that Aaron Rodgers would not return to Pittsburgh.
And he won't return to Georgia either. So no, sir. No, sir.
Rodgers, I'm sorry, Hall of Famer, but he's a locker room cancer. He's just, nothing is ever his fault. He proved that during his post-game presser when they came to the Georgia Dome and they got buzzsawed by us in the NFC Championship game. We did more to stop ourselves than they did to beat us. I'm like, I don't know. You were on the field, Aaron. Just admit you were overmatched and the better team won. Yeah. So, we don't need that kind of cancer.
So I have a good question for the chat. And guys, I probably won't get to all the live comments before the podcast ends because we're almost at 50 minutes here on the live podcast. David, Robert, a good question here that I had for Cody last night was, what is the expectations for not only the Atlanta Falcons, but what could the Atlanta Falcon fans realistically expect from this Atlanta Falcons team in 2026?
Well, we talked about that when they let Raheem and Terry go. They gave us 8 and 9 game out of the playoffs. So, I don't. That's the floor, in my opinion. I'm with my expectations. Like I said, I'm definitely expecting a playoff push this year because I'm not seeing them coming into a rebuild. I'm seeing them coming into a ready-made situation where they can, come in and just push the team, into the playoffs. This is not a rebuild, in my opinion, fans. This is, we have a situation coming in, and this regime is coming in to make a playoff run. So that is my expectation for the team.
Yeah, that's my expectation too. And David's right. I mean, that's the reason we got rid of Raheem and Terry. They finished just a game out. There's too much talent here to be wasted. And of course, the division's not very good right now. I mean, the sky's the limit for what can be brought in. My expectation is, playoffs or bust. Will it happen? I don't know. I'm just going to give a couple of examples. You know, Dan Reeves' first year here was 1997. We started 1-7. We finished his first year 7-9. The next year we're in the Super Bowl. Bill Belichick's first year in New England was 2000, 5-11. Next year 11-5. This 6th-round pick out of Michigan that nobody heard of took Drew Bledsoe's job when he got hurt, and the rest is history. So, and that's why I think that, you know, I understand the frustration from the fan base, but I think that a lot of the criticism is unfair. I think that this is a better situation for Stefanski to come into than what he just left. And, you know, he's got pieces in place. David's absolutely right. This is a ready-made situation to win now. There just needs to be a little bit of retooling here and there, especially at the quarterback position. But I think that, you know, even if Penix isn't healthy, if we can find a bridge quarterback like a Joe Flacco, I mean, he's still proven that he can carry a team. You know, I honestly think that we're going to see a playoff appearance this coming year.
We have a comment here from Davis Lewis over on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, brother, if you're new to the channel. Appreciate the comment. Ring the bell so you know when we drop content. It says, at DFU_ATL, Kevin Stefanski will play Kirk Cousins. He coached him in Minnesota. Michael Penix will be on the bench or traded for picks. I just don't see it, man. And if it happens, it's because you cut him and made a new contract for way cheaper. But we're not paying him what we have to owe him. Nowhere near that amount, I don't think, to keep Kirk Cousins in Atlanta. Ricky says Kirk will tie up too much money if that happens. Absolutely, way too much money to fork over to a 38-year-old quarterback. Mark Smith says he needs all the help he can get. Chandler Johnson says we are breathing a fresh air for Stefanski and offensive coaching. Georgia, Texas boy says, yes, we are, Miss Pam. He says, okay, that's the same comment. He just posted it twice. Atlanta Falcons Dynamic says, I do believe so too. No one has been able to show me or prove to me the upside of Kevin Stefanski. Mark says, that's right. We will 2 losers on staff with Brian Callahan. Sheesh. Ricky says, rise up, baby. Glad to have you in the comment section, man. Auntie Pam says, I want an offensive-minded head coach. He was on my radar, so I completely understand how everybody feels. I was completely blindsided by the Raheem hiring. Sterling Willis says, with this hire, I just want to be like the other franchises where they keep their head coach for more than 3 years. David, you talked about that. Having a head coach that called the plays so you didn't lose an offensive coordinator as soon as you got a good year out of that guy. Hey, just speak on real quick why it matters that you got the veteran head coach play caller here in Atlanta.
Like I said, the same thing with when we had the 2016, 2017 year with Shanahan. We were a hot offense, everything high octane, and then that's when we lose him and he goes out of town. Then who do we bring in after that? Sarkisian to try to run his system, and it never worked. It never worked from then, and I don't think we've been the same team since. When you got that thing in place, you got that cohesion. Same reason we keep in Coach Albright. We got some cohesion going on with the defense right now, and you don't want to just give that squad to another play caller, defense coordinator, and think it's going to be the same. We got to keep some kind of, they're taking steps forward, and then if they have to learn another system, they're learning the system, and then you start seeing them flying around towards the end of the season. And I think that's where we were able to rush 4, because they got comfortable in their roles, and then they could just, instead of trying to think the play, they're just playing and reacting to the situations from there. So, if you're able to sit down and you play free, you play where you don't have to think as much. You play where you react, you play faster, and you make more plays. So that's the whole system. Once a system is learned, they got it. So, and if you got the Stefanski calling the plays, he's going to call the plays until he leaves as the head coach.
Big shout out to the 4 live new subscribers as we did the live video. Shout out to you guys for hitting that subscribe button, man. We greatly appreciate it. As we are on the road to 1K, that is the ultimate goal here. When we started the channel, We wanted to get 1,000 subscribers, guys. We're at 657 right now as we sit. If you're new to the channel and you like what you're watching, man, hit that subscribe button. As Splasher says, I like the hire, in my opinion. He sees it as a good hire. Miss Pamela says, Stefanski has not lost the locker room in Cleveland. The front office and fan base was ready for him to go. Charles says, for the people that don't like the hire, Lord willing, they'll like the uniform. Splasher says, majority of Cleveland players were vouching for Stefanski to stay. Mark Smith said, Cleveland has been in more playoff games than we have over the last 5 years. So you're absolutely right. And that was because of Stefanski. His first year, 11-5, giving Baker Mayfield really that first title of, hey, this guy can be a franchise quarterback. Kevin Stefanski unlocked that in the NFL of Baker Mayfield. So hoping the same situation can happen with Michael Penix and whatever bridge quarterback the Atlanta Falcons decide to go with until Penix is of due and ready to play here in the league. Boogie says, it's wild. Everyone outside the Falcons fandom says this is a great hire. I'm convinced this was a great hire now. I believe it was a great hire as well. I think the Atlanta Falcons went the right route. As me and Robert stated before the show, shout out real quick, man. Shout out to all 101 viewers right now. We appreciate you guys. Hit that like button. But they talked about how, Stefanski was a locker room guy. He knew the people around the league. And so I was asking Robert, would you rather have a first-time head coach come in with the pieces you already have in place and take you to the playoffs? Or would you rather have a new guy do that? Or would you rather have a veteran Kevin Stefanski that's won the 2-time head coach of the year? So I think the Atlanta Falcons made the right hire when it comes to that. Rome Dubs would be good. Charleston says, could you technically swap Darnell Mooney's cap hit with Kyle Pitts? But I guess we'll wait and see in March. Davis says, Kevin, he posted that already. Yeah. Okay. Kevin Stefanski's offense looks the same no matter the quarterback. He made Mayfield play hurt, so he couldn't get an extension. I don't know that much. I haven't dove that far back. I've went into numbers and what he done as far as what he was given in Cleveland. Had a really bad break with the quarterback that they drafted, took all the draft picks and ended up getting a year play out of him, and it wasn't the greatest. So I mean, it's a big question mark of what Stefanski could do here in Atlanta. Splasher says Mooney has to go. Jay Black says, which quarterback would flourish under Kevin's offense? I think you could look at a good bit of bridge quarterbacks that could play decent enough in a play action heavy run style offense. Splasher says, I think Mac Jones fits Stefanski's offense until Penix is healthy. That's a name I've mentioned on the show as well. Mac Jones playing the quarterback position. Tyreek Hill would be nice, but his contract would have to be Falcons friendly. We have to be able to keep building and developing. I agree. Ricky says the cheaper route would be a Flacco, someone who knows the system till Penix gets back. I kind of agree with Ricky. If you're looking for a guy that can win you games and doesn't mind sitting on the bench behind a young quarterback, I think Joe Flacco is that guy. Probably the most selfish player there is in the league. You've seen it the past almost 5 years. That's what Joe Flacco's role has been in the NFL. And the familiarity with the scheme and how to run that offense could really win you games until Penix is set to go. David?
Well, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. If I'm pushing and my prayers and hopes and thoughts is that Penix will be ready to go come week one. But we still gonna have to sign a quarterback. Kirk is gonna be gone. We just let Stick go. So we only have one quarterback, when Kirk get cut.
Emory Jones.
Yeah, okay. But Flacco would be a good pickup, not even if Penix do start. We do have to have a backup, someone that can come in and, like I said, he knows the system. So, that's going to help the learning curve, having somebody other than the coach in there that knows the system. So, Flacco wouldn't be a bad pickup. I just saw that last year his cap hit was $4.5 million. Definitely could do that for some of his status, and so I wouldn't be opposed to picking up a Joe Flacco.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. Mark says Carolina is coming, and so is New Orleans. Atlanta Falcons must figure it out fast as of what style they're going to run and what that identity is going to be going forward. Not unfair circumstance. It was deserved because of 8-year playoff drought. Rich Reloaded says Stefanski has been stripped of play calling duties the last 2 years. Even before that, his offense always looked horrible. Pam Johnson says, definitely like and subscribe all Atlanta Falcon podcast creators. Appreciate you, Aunt Pam. If you're new here, man, hit that subscribe button. Check us out. Leave a like. Bring the comments. Ring the bell. Guys, we will go live with you all off season up to training camp. We'll have live coverage from training camp, preseason games, and regular season coverage as DFU does this thing year-round, 360 days. Throughout the year, we're covering the Atlanta Falcons. That's what we do here on the podcast. Stefanski lost our locker room 2 years ago. Falcon fans saying Stefanski, I make Cousins QB1 likely. People think Kevin is a good coach because of two-time coach of the year. What is he actually good at, though? Let's see. Mark says, I got news for you. Another year like that on defense, and our DC will be a head coach somewhere. And that's the reality of it, Mark. You know, in today's NFL football, that's the reality of it, and that could be the situation. But if you can set a blueprint for this young defense like you did last year, this is year 2 now going back into that defense. If you can find a coordinator that knows how to run that style defense, the chess pieces are in place. The players are there. If you can get Jeff Ulbrich for 2 years before he is asked to be a head coach, I think that's a win. Stephen Bailey says Raheem was already improving the defense and had a run game going. Stefanski joining a half-built team. Belp says, I think we will release Kirk and bring him back under another contract. The new head coach loves Kirk Cousins. John Marino says, as a diehard Falcon fan, I have no choice but accept the new hire. With the talent on this team, no excuses for us not to make the playoffs. Stephen Bailey reads out, renegated and extend Cousins' contract with this new head coach and wise choice. Southside says, we need another outside corner. Mike Hughes ain't it at all. Kobe's still not quite ready. I agree. You need to go find that cornerback too, whether that's free agency or a draft pick. But you must address cornerback too. I agree. Let's see. And we're down to our last comment. We almost made all the comments, guys. Ms. Pam says, Ulbrich don't want to be a head coach. He already stated that fact. So we may have a Ulbrich here for a couple of years. That would be great. If Ulbrich can stay and we can retain that defense in Atlanta, shout out to that. That'd be a huge momentum push heading into next season and knowing that you have that DC that wants to be in Atlanta. Robert, man, appreciate you guys for coming through, man. The chat went crazy today. We had 103 live viewers. That was the top number for views today, along with Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So shout out to you guys for coming through. Hit that subscribe button, man. We have 57 live viewers on YouTube, guys. Hit that like button. Leave the comments. Push us out into the algorithm to help us grow as a Falcon content creator page, as we are always positive about the Falcons, whether we like the pick or we don't like the pick. We will support what the Atlanta Falcons do here in Atlanta. In Matt Ryan, we trust, baby. Robert, with that being said, give me a shout-outs for today's show.
Well, shout out to the good Lord above for another day, another beautiful day here in Northwest Arkansas. The sun's shining, but it's a little bit cold. And, of course, shout out to you guys for letting me be a part of this. It's always an honor and a privilege to talk Falcon football with you all. And shout out to our viewers, our subscribers, especially our new guys. You know, we appreciate it. You know, you're the reason we do this. Shout out to, I'm going to give a special shout out to Coach Stefanski. I'm happy with this hire. I think he's going to do great things for us. Welcome to Atlanta, Coach. And of course, shout out to the Falcons themselves. And as always, shout out to my family, Brianna, Peyton, Zach, and Christy. I love you all, and rise up.
Rise up. Mr. David, appreciate you coming through this afternoon to talk about the new hire here in Atlanta. Appreciate you being here, dog. Always a great time talking Falcon football with the fam. David, your shout-outs for tonight. Or
definitely giving shout-outs to the good Lord above, like we always started off as. Shout out to the family. Definitely shout out to the chat today. Y'all guys went crazy.
Yeah.
Definitely appreciate your comments, whether they are positive or, borderline, or just, we give you a platform to come and vent. This kind of
That's right.
thing, it helps us get through these things that we like and we don't like. So we're gonna come through. We're gonna talk about whether it's good, bad, or ugly. And we're gonna keep it, in it and try to keep it as positive as we can. This is our team. I don't, I don't always agree. Yeah, I don't always agree with, what they do, and it takes me some time to, last night, if I probably got on the podcast last night, my views probably would not have been as positive as they came out today, because I was like, what are we doing? But then I sit down, sleep on it, get up this morning, lay in bed, pulling up some stats and some things that he's done well in the league, and now I see why it's not such a bad hire. Is like I said, still wasn't the one I wanted, but we're gonna keep it and move on positive.
Absolutely. Shout out, man, to all the viewers today, guys. Shout out to all the new subscribers, as we've gained 47 new subscribers in the last 28 days, guys. Appreciate everybody that has came through and hit that subscribe button, man. We appreciate you guys. 1K is the mark. Hit that subscribe. Share us to Falcon fans. Ring the bell so you know when we go live. As I can't thank you viewers enough, because the last 4 or 5 episodes have been this amount of viewers, and it means a lot to have you guys to sit around and listen to us talk and just really express our opinions about a sport that we love and a team that we'll support until we're 6 feet under. So I appreciate you guys for being here, man. Shout out to the good Lord for giving us another day, another opportunity to come on this show and spread Falcon news to all the Falcon fans. Miss Pam says, tune in to Bird Lady of AFN. We are the only female Atlanta Falcons podcast Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock, man. Y'all be sure to check out Auntie Pam with the Ladybirds of AFN, a great podcasting group, a bunch of young ladies that know Atlanta Falcon football. Check out Auntie Pam's podcast at Lady AFN. Once again, shout out to you guys for being here, man. You can catch DFU live again right now, Friday at 9 o'clock. DFU will be live, bringing you Falcon content. If there is breaking news throughout the week, we'll have a late night show one day throughout the week, whatever day that breaking news hits. So stay tuned. Ring the bell so you know when we go live. Southside says, do we finally get a true 350-pound nose tackle this offseason? A lot to come. DFU will be there to cover it all the way throughout the offseason. Falcon fans, hit that like button. Much love. Appreciate y'all. As always, A-Town down, rise up. We out of here, man. Appreciate y'all.